I'm gonna get out the way and let my special guests introduce themselves. They'll be hanging with your girl all month long, and so I'm really, really excited. When you think about the point of Destiny Downloads, you all know it is my mission to bring you topics centered around identity, destiny, and purpose. And y'all know I'm a church kid. Long live the church! And so, I thought it would be very interesting, especially in this time of this pandemic when the church building has the buildings have closed, to really think about how significant the roots and the foundation of the church is. And so, the Holy Ghost, me and my Holy Ghost, my squad, we got together and thought about how could we again bring this topic around the church, our foundational roots, and then how do we connect the dots of how important it is, those foundational roots, to the journey of destiny. And so I got who I believe tonight gonna be just some amazing guests and give voice and insight and also perspective to their own individualistic journeys, again, as we take a trip down memory lane, but then as we also connect those dots and talk through the significance of the church on our journey of destiny. We got my girl Charle Moore in the building on tonight, and then we got Alexis Moore in the building on tonight. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves in their own individual way, y'all, and then we're gonna get the show cracking. Let's start off with Dynesha. Come on, Atlanta.
How much time we got?
To do an introduction. We're gonna don't do a Baptist revival introduction. We're gonna do a Catholic church.
Since we talk about Magnolia, let me pull from my roots and go and give honor to God and everybody in the congregation and the deacon board and the mother board and the usher board and all of that good stuff. But no, in all seriousness though, I am Dynesha. Well, growing up, y'all knew me as Dynesha Bolden, which is my mom's last name. Professionally, I'm Dynesha McClain, which is my dad's last name, and I'm just glad to be here. I'm excited to talk about 1518 South Cooper Street and my roots. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, what do you want me to say?
That's fine. You gave a very youth day introduction. That's fine, Dynesha. Trust me, you'll be able to share more and expound upon throughout again tonight's conversation and moving on. Come on, Charle.
Well, if you guys were tuned in last week, you would know who I am from last week's episode. But just in case, as Sean said, my name is Charle, K for Killer Moore. I'm just playing.
Bye.
And I am the reigning Magnolia Elementary 5th and 6th grade spelling bee champ. There's footage, so if you check out YouTube, you can check out Dynesha and me on that footage and a whole bunch of us. So that's how far my roots go to Magnolia.
Oh, wow.
What word did you win off of?
It's a great question. I won 2 years. So the first year I won off Tangent. Yeah.
Oh.
And I can't remember the second year with that word, Try to not hold on to so much of my past achievements.
Try to be humble. That's right, buddy. Okay, try to be humble.
Right. So also sharing my roots, I was baptized with Alexis, so we got baptized in the same revival. So that's actually our Magnolia roots right there.
Did Alexis remember that?
But kind of all over the place. So
it was, it was not just Alexis, it was Charla and Shanika. I think it was a whole Destiny Child type baptism that day. And as far as Sean put me in my first elementary love triangle that I didn't even know about. So that's how far back my Magnolia roots go, and that's who I am, and that's who shaped me.
I think we should talk about that love triangle tonight.
That's fine. We would have to call Lisa. So.
Oh, this is turning to la already. Okay. All right.
This is my cousin Alexis next. Let's go.
Touch me.
What?
Reach out, touch me.
Yeah, like Diana Ross, I think that's how it went.
She tagged you in.
I did.
So I'm Alexis Moore. The only thing I remember is Magnolia. Like, I don't even remember or tell you the truth.
Wow.
We spent time there. That was like our second home. All the ladies, well, cousin too, on the line right here. So it's the family thing. And I'm in Arlington, Texas.
Oh yeah, I'm in Southern California. I'm in Los Angeles. Sorry about that. Not in Oceanside.
Wait a minute.
Beautiful where she is.
Thank you. Yeah. So again, we're
virtual.
It's how you say it's a screen. So again, we've already kind of gotten started with the shenanigans. Believe it or not, this is how it used to go down in Sunday school. And in the back of the church, this same foolishness. But again, I'm excited to have each of these, who I would like to call for tonight's purposes, Destiny partners, live in the Destiny Den virtually on tonight as we take a trip back. Alexis said something interestingly, even as I was preparing, trying to mentally kind of wrap my mind around how do you literally put at least 20 years of my life in a box? How do you do that? And the reality of it is, Magnolia is just its own scene, its own chapter, its own book by itself. And so as we kind of think about those memories, Charle's love triangle, which I would love to hear more about, and how she freed herself from such a triangle. Also,
like every other scandal first.
I also again want us to really just hone in on the fact that we all had such humble beginnings. And so I think the first question that I want to kind of open up to you all is, what is your, if you have just one, what is your most fun or the fondest memory of Magnolia? I know Alexis alluded to it, like it was the hangout. That's where we always were at. Family, it didn't matter. But what is your fondest memory beyond the love triangle, beyond the foolishness, beyond youth ministry? What is like one of those things that stick out in your mind when you think about the earlier days of Magnolia?
The best Easter egg hunts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going back to like kid age, like under 7 or something. Mm-hmm. That's my first stop.
Okay, Easter egg hunts. All right.
I think all the travel trips for me. I think that's when I was more active in church. So I don't.
What used to happen on these trips, buddy?
Talking about the Usher board trips.
I mean, the TPI trip, the Camp Naku trip. Those stick out to me the most. Those were co-ed. So. Unlike this. That's because initially I would say this about Magnolia, like, and that's coming to Magnolia Church was like the first time I was around, because my family is predominantly guys, so coming to church was the first time I was around a whole bunch of girls my age on a regular basis. So then those trips I got to learn a lot. So yeah.
That's cool.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of the two, the trips and the Easter egg hunts. I feel like I had an Easter speech until I was about 13 or something. I just.
Was that about fourth of choice?
Probably by force. You know how those people at Magnolia get down? If they needed somebody there, hey, come on. I don't care that you 14, 15 in high school, you finna say this Easter speech. But yeah, I think between that and, man, I think we had some of the best times. Oh my goodness, on those either Usher board trips or those TTI trips. I mean, we still have inside jokes to this day about some of the stuff that transpired there. But you know, I don't even know that I have a fonder memory of Magnolia. I think just thinking about Magnolia has its own fondness, period. You know, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to kind of pick one thing over the other because the environment there and just it being such a, you know, I mean, for the most part, we all were related, but even, you know, outside of that, it was such a family-oriented environment. It was such a good foundation. So I just enjoyed it, looking back at it.
I think even as, you know, when I think about like how far we've all come, that I want you all to share in a bit. You know, I think about the significance of what Magnolia taught us as far as those lessons. Like, and even though I attend a traditional Baptist church out here, me and Dynesha have talked a lot about that. The reality of it is these kids will never know church like we knew church. They'll never experience usher trips and Congress, because those were my like favorite trips, going to Congress every year. And even like our work in the community at the nursing home that Miss Blankenship used to make us go to after Saturday rehearsal. Like, there are just so many things that, you know, today's kids growing up in today's church will not have those memories, and us being able to forge authentic relationships inside of church walls. Like, I saw you all more than I saw sometimes my classmates. And as I began to grow, a lot of my classmates started coming to church with me, just because that's just where I was always at. And so if you was coming to my house, you know, you somehow ended up at a church function. And so when we think about that, I want us to go back a little bit further. I know for me personally, both my families, dad and mom, grew up in Magnolia. That's where mom and dad met. I want you all to share a little bit, because I don't know the origin for you all. Is it similar? Both family sides of the family there? What are your origins? How deep do your roots run in Magnolia? Let's start with Alexis.
Perfect.
You can speak for both of us then.
Where roots. But as far as mom and dad, it's my dad's full side. My mom's side is spread out between Memphis, Mississippi, Virginia, Texas, California. So they're kind of all over. But it's my dad's side that's primarily based. And of course, not even starting with my dad. I mean, the great Aunt Flo, shout out to her in love, and my grandmother as well, Mary. So it goes at least great grandparents.
Okay.
So that means
Charle?
Dynesha gonna get out the question like that? Okay. It starts with my grandmother and grandfather on my mom's side. Because my dad's side I think is AME, and they have a family church. So that I know of, my grandmother and them were going to that church, and then when we came and took over my grandma's house, we started going to that church. So that's how I come to know that. I don't think nobody beyond my grandmother. So.
Okay. Dynesha, you want to add to Alexis's? Because y'all from the same lineage?
Not much more, I guess, for the people who don't know that's watching. Alexis' dad is my great uncle. So her dad and my grandmother are siblings. And I think she said it, but well, I guess for her great grandmother, which would be my great great grandmother, pretty much all grew up in the Magnolia Castalia area, and Magnolia Church was just what it was. I can't think of anybody in our family, especially with the older generation, that wasn't baptized in Magnolia or passed through Magnolia. So, and then, you know, like she said, Flo, which was my great great aunt, she made sure we were there because she was teaching Sunday school, and she made sure we knew the 10 Commandments and the books of the Bible and all the disciples and everything else. And so we kind of didn't have a option to not be active in the church. But, you know, and my dad's side of the family, they're originally from Chicago. So all of them live in the Chicago area. But everything, my connection to Magnolia is through my mom's side.
Okay. How each of you all have talked about the roots. How significant were those roots as you began to grow? We all have the story of, you know, we didn't have a choice, like we were going regardless. But as you all grew and matriculated and started having other activities, started having lives outside of Magnolia, how critical though was those roots and as far as influencing you all to still remain at Magnolia for as long as you did?
I think growing up, not even just us, I think people or children, we do what our parents do to a certain age. And so by the time you get to 18 or 19, or maybe I'll say a late teenager, you're it's basically instilled in you anyway. So you're kind of, some people are going on autopilot until they feel it for themselves, and then it just becomes a natural thing that they do for themselves. So I would be some of those people. You go because that's what you're taught. Okay. And then your life experiences, and it's like, no, this is where I'm supposed to be at, until it was time to move, at least.
So say more about autopilot, being on autopilot until they feel it. What is the it you reference?
They grow a deeper relationship.
Yeah.
With doing, whether that be with God, with the environment, because I say whether it be with God or the environment, because those can be separate. God is everywhere. It doesn't mean it's at that specific church, but they could feel that environment too. So it could be one or both, or, everything in between.
All right. And you fit into that category, being on autopilot till you felt it. At what point did you feel it?
I can't say a specific point in life. There have been multiple points in life where I felt it, and where I know, like, I need to tune in, or you just know, like, it's something on the inside. It happens periodically throughout life. There's no one time.
So when you felt it, when you felt it, did you leave or you stayed?
Oh, I stayed.
Okay.
Those roots. That's
because
where
of those roots.
Home. That's home. So that's still home.
All right, Charle.
Well, I can't say I was forced, because Carolyn kind of raised us with a little independence where he wasn't forcing us. We were kind of out of control for her too. So I do think that because that was in my formative years, it became a habit though for me. Like, we just was trained to know, oh, Sunday we going to church, until like I started doing recreational stuff that kept me away from church on Sunday. But far as like I agree with Alexis, it's always still home. I mean, every time I go back to Memphis, at least one Sunday out of the time I'm there, I'm going to visit Magnolia, and I still consider that my roots, so I still know to go there, still know to participate if my Aunt Bunny or somebody tells me that I have to come speak or something there. So yeah, I don't think it'll never leave me. That's why we having this conversation right now. I just think it's a part of who I am. It shaped me. I mean, those were my formative years. That's why I can talk about. I have memories like that to talk about. Dynesha and I started the first youth Usher board too. I need to bring that up, so y'all got. Is
it archived anywhere?
Yeah, we got the buttons. She was president, I was vice president. Because we didn't want to do the little choir like everybody, Or Ms. Blankenship didn't allow me to be in that, so one or the other.
Wonder why?
Huh? Excuse me.
Wonder why?
I think she didn't recognize that soprano in me, so yeah. So, but stuff like that has continued to carry on. So I take that as that we're all self-starters and initiative. Like for us at that age, I mean, we was like 8 or 9 maybe, and we came to Miss Boyd and was like, hey, we want to do something. Well, we need to find something to do because everybody keeps telling us we need to be up in the choir, and y'all not gonna let us sit back here and laugh and check all day. So then we got some gloves, and then it grew to a uniform, and then it grew to those strips, and then we start seeing the choir come to the usher board. So those things. So shout out to Dynesha for starting the usher board.
Ooh, no pressure.
She carried that ministry on out here to these Cali streets.
So that's funny. Yes.
Are you still an usher today, Dynesha?
I was about to say.
Listen, I just cracked a joke the other day with a coworker and told them I needed something from them, and I said, I feel like I need to put on my white glove and just, get attention and get you, get you to bring me what I need, because you ain't understanding nothing. But no, so the church that I go to now is different. It seems like, or at least when you kind of transition from the traditional Baptist churches to more of the non-denominational churches, because I attended the Life Church for a while, and then the church I go to here in Atlanta area is similar to the Life Church. You kind of get away from the white glove and the orthopedic shoes and the skirts and stuff like that. I think just over time that has changed. But oddly enough, I was on the greeter ministry. So they have a greeter and an usher ministry, two totally different things. So it's still in me, but with us being in a pandemic, I hadn't been greeting anybody other than the YouTube channel. So, but it's funny because those are probably, and I just remember Tuesday, Wednesday night meetings we would have, and how Stella would work tirelessly with us to make sure that we were on point like a whole drill team, and we were asking for the program and ready to take up offering, and we were, sticking and moving and left facing, right facing, all of that stuff. And so, when I left Magnolia to go on active duty, which was part of what took me away from Memphis, as soon as I got to St. John, to me it was like Magnolia 2.0. And the first thing I gravitated to was the usher board, and I got involved with the youth and young adults there. And so going on those trips and being a mentor to them reminded me so much of the times when, at Magnolia as a young child, with Miss Andrews and Miss Stella and all those other people were pouring into us. And I found myself at 2021 doing the same thing for, Monet and for Jakia and some of those kids that came up through St. John. So, it's just one of those things, kind of, like the scripture says, train up a child in the way they should go and they'll never depart from it. So, even if, I might go to a non-traditional church or, non-denominational, whatever, that root and that foundation is still there. And, I was voluntold to do a lot of speaking engagements at Magnolia that I find myself now, which I think it was just grooming me for where I am now. And I find myself unafraid to take on those things, because then you were voluntold to do it. You didn't have a choice, whether it was an Easter speech or some other kind of speech, you did it. And so it's just kind of carried me on to now. Magnolia will always be special to me.
I think you said something that I want to expound upon and hear from each of you all when you're talking about, for each of us, we all have the stories and the testimonies of church being a starting point for us. Church was the classroom for us, whether that was public speaking, whether that was giving orders, whether that was even checking, whether that was even with crushes and all of that. Like, we learned a lot of that, at 15, 18, believe it or not. And so as we've also watched the church modernize, and we see the influx of what we now see our non-denominational churches, and everyone just wanting to just kind of be diverse, and not just diverse in terms of race and ethnicity, but also practices, right? And so we've gotten away from those traditionalistic practices and norms that we grew up under. Do you think there's been something lost as the church has continued to modernize, as people have wanted different things? Even as we've grown up, we've also desired different things as we've been exposed to them. So do you think in all of that, when we're thinking about the current context of today's church in comparison to the church in which we grew up, do you think, something has been lost with all of those forced opportunities, with all those lessons, with the church being the classroom and having those traditionalistic norms? What are y'all thoughts, if any, around the church's current state in comparison to what we grew up under?
Well, I think it depends on the church. So I can't generally say that all of that is lost, because where we go here, all of that is present. So I can't necessarily say it's lost. It depends on the church.
What church you go to?
You mean here, Texas?
In Texas.
Okay, dope.
What church you go to now?
We will chat.
Oh. Oh, sorry. I didn't know it was one of those churches.
Oh no, I just like, you know.
Yeah, I know you don't want everybody on your
Going up on your pew.
Right.
Door and let, you know, invite the neighbor. Let me invite the neighbor.
Right. No, that's cool. My bad. I messed up the code.
No.
You can tell your thoughts on that question though. That was a good segue into that.
So, what's your church? So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's crazy though, because I when I transitioned to Cali, my first church joining was a apostolic church, and that was very brand new to me. As Sean, you heard this story, but I didn't feel anything different of it except a more intense and a more animated type worship. Whereas, you know, growing up in Baptist, and I would say Magnolia Baptist, we're a little more conservative, or we knew who our shouters were. And this apostolic church, everybody shout, you know, including the bishop, as they call. So yeah, but as far as like, I think the authentic fellowship and the communion of the church, no, I didn't think that was lost. I do see that, you know, youth now are not as present in most churches that I attend that I know when we were growing up were. You know, we grew up in a you know, an environment that had just as much youth as it did adults. And I see now there are only more women in church than men, but now there's more just older people, and like as the years go, younger than me, I don't see them as present or as active in church.
Have you ever thought through why, or considered the why?
Yeah, actually, I had a talk with my bishop about this, Noel Jones at the time, and we both came to this idea. What you say, Oceanside over there? Huh?
I said City of Refuge.
Yeah,
I visited there when I was out there in California. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't go there no more though, but I go somewhere closer to my house. But when I was there, we was talking about this because I was actually like looking around, like where are the people my age? I thought I was like, well, I was like the only youngest person at the 7 a.m. church, and he was like, maybe you should go to the noon. I was like, oh, well, you probably won't see me if that's the case. And he was like saying how the church used to be the central force of, especially for the Black community. Like the church was that central character. Like this is where everybody knew to come to, far as for, you know, whatever they needed in their community. You know, it started with the church. And now people are no longer seeking that, you know, like as it evolves and as we do get a deeper relationship, we do know and understand that God is everywhere. And some people have taken that to be a license for them to not feel that they need to fellowship with other believers, because they can, you know, as even in during this pandemic, you learn you can worship on your own. But I think that's because the importance of understanding church was never about an individual thing. It was always about us coming together to be one faith, one community, and one force. And so I don't know how much is that was that taught to us. I don't know, is that why it that lesson got lost in translation, or is it just people just no longer want to be interdependent on each other and rather be independent?
Wow. Okay. Dynesha, your thoughts?
I don't know that I have anything. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think it's probably a combination of what both Charle and Alexis said. I think one, it all depends on the church. But then two, if anything has been lost, it is that youth and young adult age range, or the people that have the desire and the thirst for God and being in the presence of other believers for various reasons. You know, you have in addition to people just kind of moving from the traditional churches because perhaps they are in church all day and they feel like that doesn't fit their lifestyle. But you have a lot of people that's, attending YouTube University and becoming more woke. And so they don't necessarily, believe in the principles and the foundation of the church and of the word. And, they question whether, the God that we know and serve and the Jesus that we know and serve is actually what it is. And especially in this climate that we're in now. So I think if anything has been lost, it has been that population of youth and young adults to carry the church forward. And then I think slowly but surely people are starting to kind of fall away from the faith, which is unfortunately what is going to happen in the last days. But
come on, missionary. So,
is that for real? Dynesha.
Say that again.
Is that written for real?
Is what for real?
Is that written? What's going to happen in the last days?
Yeah. It's written in the book. Yeah, I mean, it gives a... Is that like a real question? Yeah, it gives descriptors of how you'll know the end days or how you'll know to discern the end times. And there are several descriptors. The one that Dynesha mentioned is just one of many that's listed in how, you can discern the different dispensations at different times. And to her point, just this notion of people become lovers of selves, lover of men, not interdependent, but more independent, loving of themselves, and really straying away from these core, foundational, pillars, of the church. But the text is clear when it says that our Lord and Savior is coming back for the church, which even as we have this conversation, even when we think about what's lost, what hasn't been lost, the gaps, the reality of it is, God is coming back for his church. And what does that look like? And that is not a physical building, but that is, again, the body of the believers. And what does that look like? And so, interestingly, Dynesha also brought up a point around looking at churches. She's right. Interestingly, I've shared this before on the live, and I'll share it again tonight. Dynesha, when she stayed out here, attended a church that I now attend, and it's so funny in our private conversations. We've laughed at just how mind-blowing that is, and how we both categorize St. John as our Magnolia times 10. Like, this is like, I didn't even think there could be another church like a Magnolia. Now, it's not Magnolia in all of its flair. I will give St. John that. It's definitely not Magnolia in all of its flair and glory. But in terms of traditionalism, in terms of its setup and its structure, and even the people, straight up 1518 South Cooper Street, like all the way. And so it is interesting that I left Magnolia in my 20s. I don't even remember exactly when, and never went back to a traditional Baptist church until now. And so I can even remember when I first got there, I was like, what in the world is this? I am in a time warp. Like, what? How did I go all the way back? Even seeing the ushers walk down the aisle on beat to get offering, I was like, okay, I'm tripping. And so it really took me a minute. It really did to be settled in such a space, because again, even my spirit was almost like vexed in the beginning, like, where am I? Like, I know we're not doing devotion. I know, like, where we at? And so that was really interesting for me. And two, even some Charle said, I've been in the apostolic churches, I've been in Pentecostal spaces. And so I can get with some tongues, I can get with some running, I can get with some hollering. I'm used to the high energy services. And so it took me a minute really to like sit in the fact that God has sent me to St. John. So I feel like there was something that needed to happen in my own development. I need to be restored in the Baptist church. And so you're right. But even in a St. John, it's not just St. John, it's across the board. You're talking about what's missing, these gaps, the young adults, the children's ministry, and like for us, church being the hangout, that's definitely not the case at St. John, church over, that's it. And so seeing that is like, dang, man, you'll never get it. And something you said, Alexis, you'll never get that it. I would argue what helped me grow in my faith as a believer was that it that was first planted at Magnolia. Now, it wasn't the it in its fullness, because Magnolia left out a large part of the it. But there definitely was seeds planted in Magnolia that now at 36 comes back. And people are like, why do you like Sunday school so much? Because I went to that bug every day. Like, that's where we kicked it. That's where we ate our first snack pack at, or whatever the case may be. Like, what do you mean? How do you know all the hymns? Because Magnolia sung the bugs. We heard Amazing Grace every Sunday, right? It was, look.
Man, you had your mama, though. Because I don't know them hymns.
That's because you were late. And you would come in after hymns were already had been sung.
Okay, then. So I don't know.
But I was sharing my experience. And so
that's what I said. Your mama, too, though.
Well, yeah, she had that red book at the
legendary Dr. Watt guru. Like,
true. That was in the house with me. So I don't even know if they know it. I think I've heard them sing Dr. Watts one time out here. And even then, need a little beat or two, And so, but again, just thinking about the evolution of the church, the evolution of our own journeys, and how, again, those roots play such a significant role. I want to ask you all this question. At what point, because now, again, I always think back to, okay, I got this from Magnolia. What is like one, if maybe not a skill or a talent or a lesson that you can trace all the way back and say, you know what, this stemmed from 1518?
I mean, I got mine. I'm just waiting on y'all.
Need to see.
That alto note is on.
It still got that clap.
Yeah. I can't with any song. Like, I'm just like that. And that came from
What is that?
Say that again.
That alto note, harmonizing with any song. Really, I play hymns and gospel songs, but any song, they're harmonizing. That's a skill. You haven't with me.
Her on the stage, y'all ain't talking about nothing. BGVs are needed for everybody. But you ain't talking about nothing. Okay, we remember. Okay, Alexis and the alto harmonizing. Great. Wow. Hilarious. Dynesha.
Oh, man. I think for me, it was just being comfortable with speaking before people because, and y'all remember whenever we would gather together and do the Sunday school thing, and whoever was the Sunday school superintendent for the month or however long it was, and you had to get up and, do the presentation or whatever. And then I remember several times Carolyn tapped me to whatever kind of speech it was. Carolyn tapped me. Sir.
Hey, PJ.
Turn up.
Yeah, so we're having technical difficulties over here.
So Charle, take the
I wanted to hear what the technical did. No, actually, it's the same as Dynesha. Like, just being confident in who I am and being confident with my voice. So, I don't think it was never a time that Magnolia discouraged or deterred us from not wanting to speak. They were always putting the mic in the youth hands for a lot of things, and they was also always involving us in, when we did go to the Congress and when we did go to these trips, they was always like, go up there. And
right.
Find you some type of role. I mean, shoot, we end up being team leaders at TTI, so and I don't know how.
What did you say? Told, Dynesha?
Huh?
What did you say? Voluntold?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was.
Do you think today's kids need that? Should be forced. Should be voluntold.
Yes.
Well, no, I don't think it's forced. I think that's the thing that we think is forced, but it's really training. And it's the discipline that, yeah, I do think children need to be disciplined, but adults still need discipline. So, yeah, I think it's all around. I think it helps the situation.
Yeah, I think, to the credit of the adults there at Magnolia, I think that they saw the giftings in all of us, and they kind of pushed us in that direction. And so, like Charle said, it was more so, training and preparation than it was being forced. And I do think that the kids nowadays need that. That's the purpose. That's what we're supposed to be doing is, either exposing them or training them or showing them or leading them in the direction of their gifting, of the things that we see in them or either discern in them. And that was kind of what they did for us. And I found myself more times than not being asked to speak for something or another. So,
and I'll say this, I also like the fact that it was a village. Like, it wasn't just my mom telling me to do stuff. It was like, you got to hear from all the Youth in Action for Christ committee, and us having that type of village around us, I think helped with the training, because I don't know how receptive it is if just your parent is always the one telling you. But if somebody else, on the outside sees that same, and has that same personal connection with you, I still get that today from all y'all parents. They all love me. So at least they tell me that.
You're the favorite?
No, not the favorite. They ain't gonna lie to me, but they do tell me they love me, and they wish me the best out.
So if we could reimagine if we could reimagine 1518, what would that look like?
Reimagine it how? And with what that?
with us there.
Okay.
With us there, knowing what we know now, with what we've learned, all of us being in different places and spaces, having lived fulfilling lives, I would argue. And if the assignment was for us to go back and to reimagine church, and reimagine specifically 1518, what elements would we be sure to include, or what would be needed, if possible, to restore 1518 to the house of worship that we knew it as?
I'll probably be like Jacob, because I think I'll be fighting that design.
Okay. Why, buddy?
I just don't know if that's me, I'll be really asking God, is that what you're calling me to?
Do you think that's possible?
To what?
To restore it back to how we remember it.
Well, go ahead. I heard somebody else.
Said, I think so. Because through God, all things are possible.
Hey.
And which Sunday school class did you learn that one in?
Don't even worry about it. It's in there.
I mean, restoring, like, because the church has to evolve. So I don't know what are we restoring that they may want us gone. They may want it to move. No, it's just a new crop, a new sheep, because you do outgrow your shepherd in some cases where it's time for you on another level. And if they still got the same shepherd there, then it's not meant for you to stay there if you feel that you're now on this different journey than what you've been taught in it. And I think that's what besides the physical or the geographical location change, I couldn't, if I was in Memphis today, I don't see, well, first I don't have a pastor, but I don't see myself being a member at Magnolia at where I feel Magnolia is. And there's no knock. I just feel that my experiences have grown me in a different direction than where the church is. So, yeah, I don't know if,
And I asked that for Dynesha jumps in. I asked that because you're right. In hindsight, it sounds good, right? That if we were all still there, we would all still be members. And I don't want to speak for anyone, but I know for me, I was still very much in Memphis. Out of all of you all, I'm the last one that left Memphis. And so even in Memphis, Magnolia was not my choice. It was not my home church. It had not been for some time. And so I think though, as much as we celebrate and commemorate, there's also this reality of, because of our journeys, because of evolution, because of development, that may or may not still have been our choice home. Now, Alexis said that would still be home for her, right? So I think it's still an individual answer. For me personally, it wasn't when I was there, right?
Well, it's still home for me. Like I said, I still go, but it's like I treat my mom home. My mom home still my home for me, but technically it's not my home.
You're not limited to it, but it's still home.
Right.
Like that, and that goes back to me saying that the two are separate. Your relationship with God and your relationship with people in the church and the worship, they can be together. But hey, if they have to be separate, they just separate. This is still my home church because of the people and because of the worship and because of the community. But I know God
is bigger than that.
Right.
That's
why I say it's still home.
Right.
That's
yeah. I guess to kind of piggyback on something that Sean said, because when I left Memphis, when I on active duty, was there in California, came back from 2006 until 2009, left, came back, and then left again in 2014. But during the times that I came back, whether it was for a 1 or 2 year stint or for a 4 or 5 year stint, Magnolia wasn't necessarily my home per se. Matter of fact, when I came back to Memphis in 2006, I actually ended up joining Cumming Street. And then when I came back again in 2009 or 2010, I ended up attending the Life Church for a while before I left and came here to Atlanta. And so, I think, again, Magnolia was a good launching pad. I think it was a great foundation. But, it was like when I left Magnolia, and to kind of touch on something Alexis said earlier about that it thing, it was there. Magnolia was good foundation-wise, but like you said, Sean, it was still a little something missing. And so when I got to California, to Oceanside, and I started going to St. John, and one of my best friends who was on active duty with me, or we went to boot camp together. She was a minister in St. John, and at that point, the shift happened from religion to relationship. And it was at St. John that I learned and understood the importance that church was more than just about going to Sunday school or being on the youth usher board, or about, doing all the things that foundationally were great, because it, planted that root for us to not forsake the church and to, give our time to God and everything else. But going to St. John is when I came into the knowledge of understanding the importance of the relationship aspect of God, and understanding that doesn't necessarily take place in the building on Sundays, going through, checking the boxes and doing the rituals or whatever. And so, and even at that point, leaving from St. John and then going to Memphis and being at Cumming Street, because I taught Sunday school briefly over there at Cumming Street, and then going to the Life Church and getting involved there. It was just my relationship and my understanding of God had changed so much from the time that I left Magnolia, that I don't know that I could necessarily, kind of like Charle said, I don't know that I could go back. And even like you said, Sean, before you left Memphis, then Magnolia was no longer your home. But if I had to go back, or if God said, okay, you know what, you have an assignment over there at Magnolia, my desire would be to cultivate a more robust young adult ministry, to get the young adults involved more, and to have a ministry that's geared towards them, coupled with the things that's going on today. Like, it's so much stuff that the church misses out on addressing, because of tradition, or because of being scared to touch on those issues that we need to touch on. And I think that's where the youth and the young adults are being lost, because it's not addressing what they're dealing with today. And I even experienced some of that, even going to St. John, when I was with the youth and young adult ushers there, whatever the case, tradition kind of squeezed a lot out of what was possible for those young adults to do on the usher board there. So, for me, I would try to find a way to marry and keep the sanctity of church and marry it with the, with what's going on today and addressing the issues of today, without compromising, the word and the foundation and everything that needs to be there. So, I mean, if I had to go back and God said, okay, this is your assignment, then it would be geared towards developing a more robust young adult ministry and more ministries that are geared towards, revitalizing that community over there. I mean, it's a lot to be, or that could be done over there in that Magnolia Castalia community that the church could take advantage of. And so if God says that he should go back to Magnolia, then that would be my focal point, maybe. I don't know.
I think to culminate, to pull out really what you're referencing is the relevance of today's church.
Right.
And because I would argue, in being in church consulting now for over 5 years and working with churches everywhere and pastors and church communities, I'm cool with the tradition, actually, because that's all I knew at some point. And so I'm cool with it, but how do we also incorporate the relevance that's needed to move forward with ministry, right? So I see church and church, I see a worship experience different than ministry, right? Ministry are the happenings of the body, or the happenings of the house, or the work of the hands in the house. And this worship experience is, again, what we're doing in the run of this 90 minutes, or the different, experiences where we're intentionally seeking God. And so can they go hand in hand? Absolutely, right? But I do think there has to be someone that's in that seat, whether that's the shepherd or whomever, that has that kind of vision, that's willing to say, hey, this is our doctrinal stand on the Holy Ghost, or this is our doctrinal stand on how we do worship, or how do we do church, or how do we do whatever this programmatic feature is of this house. But then this out over here is how we look at how do we reach out. How do we make sure that our church is relevant? We're meeting the needs of the people, both in the pew and in the community in which we serve, and then in the larger context, right? So I think those are the conversations that have to be had. I would argue growing up, I think before we knew how to name all of this stuff, that was happening, right? Because we was always doing something in conjunction with the community, right? The kids were always welcome to our church for the various activities we had on, for the various ministry opportunities. We had leadership and were a part of the community residentially, right? And so that also was vital because it allowed them to have a pulse on the community, which is also what you always don't see now. Because again, as churches have begun to grow, they've grown out of their community, right? And so I think, when you're talking about tradition and then religion, I'm cool with it. But at the same time, how do we remain relevant? I think that's where we've lost in that, and we're being so one-sided on one over the other. And it really does have to be a good balance if you're thinking about bringing in anybody. When I think about going back, first, I don't think about going backwards, but I do think about reimagining the church and how to help the church evolve without losing, because you don't want to offend tradition, and you don't want to offend history, and you don't want to offend those who are still very much tied to those traditionalistic norms and cultures, and without losing the identity of your church. And so I think that's a conversation worth noting. As we kind of shift just a little bit, I want you all to talk just a little bit. I want you all to kind of bring everybody fast forward, like, where are you now? I want you first to say when you left Magnolia, and then why you left Magnolia, because I think all y'all left because y'all moved. I left, and so, which is different, right? That needs to be stated, because those are two different reasons. And then where are you now? And then, when you left, why you left, and then where are you now? Not in terms of church, but just period in terms of life.
Well, I left Memphis the first time in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, for college. So then that took me away from Magnolia. And then when I transferred, I came back, was it 2003? And I transferred to Christian Brothers. So I was back in Magnolia for when I was attending church. And then I left, I'll pretty much say, again in 2006 or 2007. And I haven't been near Tennessee, well, lived near Tennessee like that in a while. So that answered the question.
The first half.
Oh, what was the second half?
Where are you now in life?
Oh man, sometimes I feel like I'm in Mars, but I'm in a pandemic right now. I'm in LA. I attend one LA church, even though we've been doing streaming.
Oh, Torrey Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You calling out all my preachers, like
I follow him. I like him.
Yeah, he's there. But I guess we all been taking a pandemic pause, so from church, and it looks like just as many guests he's had, I've been a guest at other people's church. I fellowship with all nations too, so they sometimes get me off. I love following Apostle Stevenson, and since you said your family is in Chicago, Dynesha. Now, is that McReynolds or McClain?
Who's McReynolds? McClain is my dad's last name.
I'm just making sure.
No, that's my dad's last name.
Okay. I was just making sure. Since you knew people in Chicago.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
All right. But that's where I'm at now. Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right.
Well, I guess I'll go since Alexis has been starting it. So I left Memphis the first time, I think in 2000 also, early part of 2000. Originally to come down here to Clark until I found out they didn't have any money for me. So I came back home briefly and then left again in May of 2000 and went on active duty. Went to boot camp in the Marine Corps, and then obviously that's how I ended up in California at St. John and was there for about 6 years. And so as I was transitioning and getting ready to get divorced and all of that other stuff, I moved back to Memphis in 2006. And at that time, I actually went to Cummins Street. Yes, because I think I wanted something different. I think, at that point, between leaving Magnolia, going to St. John, and then going back to Memphis, that transition occurred to where, for me, I just wanted more. I wanted to look more, still maintain the tradition, but just a different style, a different something. I was just looking for something different. And as much as I, love Magnolia, because my mom still goes there, my sisters, all of my family, uncles, everybody, cousins, they all still go there. I just didn't see myself fitting back in Magnolia as it was. And so, I went to Cummins Street briefly, went to the Life Church, moved to Chattanooga, and the time frame in Chattanooga was so short, I can't even remember the name of the church that I went to. Yeah. I was in Chattanooga for a hot second, about a good year and a half. And then I came back to Memphis in 2000. Well, I went back to Memphis rather in 2009. And I went back to Cummins Street. Then I went to Life Church. And then I moved again from Memphis in 2014, which, brought me here to Atlanta through a job transfer. And so, or rather through just taking another position with my job. And so now, when I first came here, I started out at a very traditional Baptist church because that's just what you know. And then I ended up going to 12. Well, the church that I attend now is 12 Stone. And it's, like I say, it's pretty much very much like the Life Church. And that's where I've been attending and serving ever since. And I think for me, the transition between the traditional Baptist church and the non-denominational churches like 12 Stone and like Life Church is that, you know, you have a little more freedom as to what you want to serve in and where you want to serve. I remember at the Life Church, they would do this thing called a first serve, where they didn't pigeonhole you into, okay, you're going to work over here in the young adult ministry because we don't have anybody, or I'm going to stick you on the usher board because we need, you know, it was like, okay, you know what? Go with whatever you feel like your gifting is. And if that doesn't work for you, then go somewhere else. And so I kind of like that because it allowed me to explore, you know, potential spiritual gifts that I didn't even realize I had by being able to do something outside of what I was used to. And, you know, one of the things with the traditional churches like the St. John or Magnolia is that the churches are so small. And even the church that I started out going to here in Atlanta, they're so small that it's almost kind of like, all right, you know, we got 9 people in the congregation and everybody in the ministry and we need a 10th person. And so now it's you. And so it wasn't that I was trying to hide from that, but I just didn't want to feel forced to be in a ministry or serving in a place that I feel like God hadn't gifted me just because there was a need there, you know? So I've gravitated more towards the non-traditional churches because of the options in terms of being able to serve and ministry and things of that nature. So that's where I am now. And of course, like Charle said, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And so in addition to following, you know, one church and a couple of other people, and I tune in to Darius Daniels, which he's phenomenal. He's really good. And occasionally I'll check into St. John every now and again, see what y'all have going on whenever you have a Bible study or something going on. So, you know, for me, I've been attending church all over the world via YouTube.
So as we kind of, because I wanted to
we skipped.
Oh yeah, Alexis.
Well, maybe we were supposed to.
Oh my bad.
You are that kid in the classroom, huh?
What's that kid?
Charlotte is that kid where.
Oh, but you know that, right? You've been knowing that.
What? No, what am I?
You that kid in the classroom, like, teacher, wait a minute, you forgot somebody.
Well, you never want to leave nobody out because you never know.
That's true. She might have a word.
Yes.
But my story is pretty short. I lived in Memphis until 2014 and went to Magnolia, and then I moved here. And I visited a non-denominational, I believe actually my father clarified for me when he came here, that ain't a Baptist church. It don't say it on the building. But for me, I can listen to a message from anybody.
Yeah.
I can literally listen to a message from anybody, not looking at the judgment of who they are, what they did. If they're saying something that's going to help me,
amen.
And when I say anybody, that means somebody that's going to be able to help me. But if they can help me and what they're saying makes sense, I'm cool. I have my experience and all that other stuff when I see my family. But as far as a message, I was cool with the non-denominational. And then we moved from that one side of Arlington to the other side of Arlington. And now we go to a place that I feel like has what you guys are saying is missing. There's a balance of both. It's when those old hymns hit, it's like, yes, yes.
Harmonizing.
Harmonize. The blood, they play down first Sunday, I'm here for it. But there are also the ministries. There are they have so many different ministries that you can be a part of, and it's really up to the person. So I'm still I haven't joined that church just because I'm kind of like, well, will I always live in this space? I'm not sure. Not to say that it has to be convenient, but I'm gonna move when he say move. And I haven't been told to move yet. I've been told to still take in what's good, and it is good, but I haven't gotten it, yet. So I visited, visited the non-denominational, go regularly until the pandemic, but of course still go online to the same church. And I visited a few mega churches or whatnot, and those are cool, but the way that it has to be, as y'all said, relevant. And there's a certain relevance to where even my daughter is like, She just said it Sunday. I was watching it on the TV. She was like, I miss going there. Like, that means something. So you can relate to me and her. Oh, okay. I'm listening. So that's where I'm at now. I'm listening to what God tells me to do. And even when I'm off track, because still get off track, I have that conviction that's on the inside that tells me what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's me.
Thank y'all for sharing. I want to expound on that question. I want to expound on what you shared, Alexis, because I think as we take this journey this month, that'll be a great segue into next week's segment. I've never heard anyone distinguish their church life as it relates to family. I get that home experience, and that there's a distinction between that and then my own personal relationship with God. And I think that's huge, because I would argue, I think you've just given language to individuals who do compartmentalize their faith and their religion and their spiritual journey in a way I know I've never heard. And I talk to church kids all day long. I really think the way that you are viewing that is so interesting. And I want to talk more about that, but we won't do that tonight, you all. But I think that is a great nugget for those that it is okay. And there are some that see, hey, this is where I go to church. This is my like family reunion every week. I go get what I need from my people. This is home regardless of where I'm at in the country. And it was home until I left. And at the same time, I got this whole dynamic with my Jesus over here. And if they can be together, that's cool. And if they not, that's cool too. And I'm good. I'm great. And so I think that's that's a tip. That's Alexis for you. But I think there's so much there to expound upon that I would like to expound upon in the upcoming segments. As we kind of land the plane, I want us to just kind of laugh a little bit. You all have shared a lot of different kind of nuggets in a lot of different directions, but I want to kind of just zone in and end on a lighter note as we conclude. We have several Magnolia vets that have tuned in on the line, that have given their little shout out, Sunday school teachers, and talking about the Dr. Watson hymns and the 1518. And it's interesting to see all of us as we've evolved. I want to just, I know I asked you all earlier about fondest memories, but any of y'all have like just some funny memories? Like, I remember when this went down. Here go how it happened. I remember this person. This person was pivotal in my growth. And so I want to just spend these final moments just kind of shouting out, saluting, celebrating, and paying homage to the place that was all our place of conception as it relates to destiny and our spiritual journeys, by spending these final moments celebrating this place that we know as Magnolia.
Okay, but anyway, so you said the funniest, right?
Yeah.
For me, the funniest thing was the battle between the kitchen and the people.
The kitchen.
That's hilarious to me, not in a bad way, but more so like, but it actually teaches you a few things. And when I say between the kitchen and the people, either you get it or you don't. But with regards to who owns what and what belongs to who, and on the outside, you would think, why would that even be a topic? But it actually teaches you a few things. It teaches you to like stand your ground. Like, hey, whatever you play, this is me. So I feel like it's funny to me just thinking about it, because you said the funniest thing, and that would be one, the relationship between the kitchen at events and the people. It's like, why is this even happening? As a 9-year-old, why am I seeing this? But by the same token, the people showed you that whatever position you play, you own it. So if I had to take a lesson from it, that would be the lesson.
Do you have a specific example where you had to stand your ground with the kitchen and or the people?
I didn't have to. I was a what do you call them? Onlooker or whatever. That it was funny to me because I was just looking at the big debate going down between who owns the stuff in the kitchen. And maybe y'all don't know that because we had to stay there until it was like midnight. But it's a big deal. And I have mad respect for the people in the kitchen because they stood their ground. They held it down. That's like, if I had to think of something that made me laugh as a kid, that would be it. And like I said, y'all might not know because y'all got to leave. But for the rest of us, we stayed until the lights was off.
You got to see some behind the scenes footage.
But I got mad at them, like I said, because it showed you whatever position you play, you own it. Like,
you own it, even if it's the kitchen in the church.
Yep.
All right, mad respect for the kitchen staff at Magnolia. All right, shabba-ba. And that is, I
do remember like Miss Finley in the kitchen staff. I was thinking about some.
Hold your ground, stand it.
Yeah.
Yes, if that's your spatula. That's your spatula.
Miss Elnora, all the people. They were all nice to me, so I guess they include me.
That's why I said it wasn't anything towards me. Yeah. Nothing towards y'all. I was a kid, right. But I unfoldings, and it was like, wow.
No, I think I can recall some people.
That's how I do.
Yeah. All this stuff. I mean, in context of the people that's on this thing, all the funny stuff to me though with us, besides probably getting in trouble with the Sunday school teachers, I would say happened outside of church. I was just thinking. I remember. I was thinking about this. I know this story I tell to kids a lot of times. We went to Camp Naku. In this.
What's Camp Naku, buddy?
Why did we go?
What'd you say?
What's Camp Naku and why did we go?
I don't even know. I was there.
You
honest answer. That is her absolute.
I don't even know what Naku mean. You know, I'm like, what? But it's so crazy because a lot of those kids that we end up meeting, I end up at junior high with them. So I know it had to be before I was even in junior high because I remember meeting them later on. Like, oh, don't I know y'all? But the reason why I say this story, and I shared this story with some kids often, is because of what happened. Like, so this raccoon came in our room, and the raccoon somehow wanted to choose my bed. So I end up being without a bed, right? So, you know, I'm thinking everybody in Magnolia, we all cool, we all family. So I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be easy. So when they was like, well, whose room she gonna get to go to? Man, them doors started shutting. And I was like, oh. And you know, I thought I was I've been told, I thought I was pretty cool kid. So I was wondering. And it was what I shared a story about the perception of how people look at you and your perception of you, what you think. But this is so it was like last 2 rooms left. Shout out, and this is where I hold mad respect for Alexis because she was like, "You can come in this room," and then I think her and Charle was roommates, huh?
It sounded like me.
It was, and then it's another part to that story, but we'll talk.
That's later.
Yeah. But yeah, so then that's how I end up. But I was like, man, the people you thought you had this perception of yourself of thinking like, man, it's gonna be easy. And them doors were like, it was like, oh man. I just remember kept saying, well, my brothers and them, they over there, I can go to their room. Yeah, they won't go over there. So that it was funny to me because I was like, why am I? I think I was like talking to God. That's when I started having a conversation with God too. I was like, why my bed gotta have the raccoon God? You know, why me?
So I said, tell the ditch story.
The what?
The ditch story.
It don't. What you say?
What's that word?
The ditch with a D.
Oh,
C-A.
The ditch with a D.
you scared me. I was like, wait, dude, we on Facebook.
Like, wait, hold up, we gotta talk offline.
Oh, so Toy is my cousin. But that's not really it's a funny story, man. We went down, so there's a ditch down on Turner Street by the church. And we went on this scavenger hunt or navigation hunt. And man, we had never been down in this is how kids in Magnolia act. We had never been down in the most gross, disgusting pre-COVID-19 type surroundings. And all I knew is we were talking about this gonna be the Underground Railroad. This the way to
Wow.
So we trying to travel this ditch thinking it's gonna take us like to some like secret place. And it ends at the if anybody's else from Magnolia, the ditch ends at Wendy's. So there's nowhere you can go. So we were thinking like, well, we know the slaves didn't take this route because clearly
they ended up at Wendy's.
Well, I don't know if Wendy's was around that time, but because I don't even think Wendy's is still there now in Lamar. But it was
from next to the furniture place.
I don't know what it's next to because Payless used to be up there.
Wendy's
I used to work at the Wendy's.
Time.
You know, Dynesha. Dynesha used to hook somebody up with the double stacks. Oh, that's a funny story. I used to see Dynesha cutting class with me all the time when I was in Hamilton East. But see, that's not Magnolia. I was like, you do this too?
Wait a minute, wrong live.
No, that's okay now because it was the point that we thought as church kids that we want, to see each other doing something outside, like not typical church kids doing. Like, oh, okay, you're not going to class either? Okay.
But I would say that I never skipped school, just for the record.
What I would you?
Put a disclaimer out there.
Hey, is
to my mama that's watching to not pay Charle any attention because I did not get class.
So, I mean, the reason I put that out there is because school wasn't challenging for us. That's the thing. So, had the school been on there, this is what I used to share with my mother. Had the school did their, due diligence. Yes, we wouldn't have felt the need because the thing about it is we were still straight A students. Like I said, spelling bee reigning champ. So clearly, I got my work done. It was just the point that I felt confined to be in a classroom, sitting around with not engaging my mind like I knew it could be utilized had I go explore things.
Fix it up.
Huh?
Fix it up.
Right. Come on, Evangelist.
I was like exploring like what is Hamilton like? What is Central like? Just to kind of gather that data and to see,
Come on, data.
which information, what was I missing had I not been in those classrooms?
Dynesha?
Yes.
Well, Charle, to make you feel better, I thought you were a cool kid because a lot of my funniest church-related memories had you in the picture somewhere. Because I mean, God bless Stella and Miss Andrews and all those older women that dealt with us at the time that we were back there at the back of that church, cutting up sideways with Cameron and Justin and Derek and all those other people. But I mean, a lot of times Charle just always was laughing, giggling, cracking jokes, and checking. And it didn't matter, and nobody was exempt from it. She didn't care if you were old, young. It didn't matter. If she felt like checking, she was gonna check in the back of the church. And so for me, a lot of my funniest memories about church are either tied to, us on the usher board, doing things with the usher board in the back of the church and whatever. When we took our first usher board trip over there to Little Rock, and everything that happened with that. And then even when we went to Tennessee Teen Institute, TTI, and went to that camp. And
was Jeff and
Eric. It was a Facebook friend of mine now.
Oh, Eric.
Yeah. So, I would feel.
His name was Brent, and he grew up to be Eric. So,
oh, he was darn skinned with little khakis.
With who?
Huh?
Go ahead.
So for me, I would feel bad to start naming names because there was so many people that was instrumental, to me at that time. I mean, obviously being on the youth usher board, we probably spent the most time with Stella and, Miss Andrews and the ladies that were on the usher board, and probably had a close relationship with them. And I remember Miss Andrews, when I came down here to go to Clark and it didn't work out, financial aid, and I came back home, and she just kind of gave me words of encouragement about how, just because you might have to take a different path to get to your destination, then don't become discouraged. Because I was discouraged. I was sad. I had to come back home. And so I remember as I was leaving to go to boot camp, her and Stella got me and Carlo Foster, which I don't know where he is now, but we all went out to eat. And, she just kind of gave me the words of encouragement. Why is that funny to you, Charle? She kind of gave me words of encouragement during that time. Huh?
I do have a funny story with Carlos.
I mean, Magnolia Elementary story?
No. Actually, this is true.
Magnolia story.
Yeah, it was a Magnolia story, but I mean, it was like Dynesha said, she was right. And Dynesha, you went on Camp Naku, so that's why. But
I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, you went on it. So.
Yeah, but there are a lot of.
Oh, was you there?
I don't remember that.
Sean, was you at? I know you weren't there, Dynesha. Maybe that's why I probably fell left out.
Camp Naku or TTI? I was at both Camp Naku and TTI.
Oh, okay. I know you was at TTI. Well, I don't know. Were you at TTI when Dynesha now?
I don't know, because Dynesha's so much older. So
that's so
not that much.
Wait
a minute.
I'm trying to think. I really didn't fool with y'all like that.
No, there's a reason why we did.
No, I don't know. Because I don't know your stories. Like, I don't know your
I stayed away from you after the whole Lisa thing for a long time.
The love triangle.
Well, one half of that triangle is now on its way to being a square. So the other half. So.
Well, that triangle been turned upside down.
And still is.
This is when Lisa was living on Netherwood.
But who? Oh, that Lisa? No.
This nigga said that. How many Lisas is it?
I didn't know any, but you named my street. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I think I end up going down to your house. You always came at the right moment.
I don't remember, but I guess
Lisa put me out her house after talking to Sean. Sean, that's the thing. Sean was an instigator, so I think that's why a lot of stuff.
I stay facts.
No, it wasn't no fact. I didn't even know your brother. I just got to the church. I'm like,
who is Sean?
The Destiny coach.
Oh, you triangle?
So I wasn't in the triangle at all. We'll have to pick up with the love.
We'll chat about it.
Yeah, we'll have to chat about it. You'll find it very hilarious, Alexis, because I'm sure you can add so much more meat to it as well.
Well, she said I was there, but I don't remember.
No, you was at your house. I said you were there at your house, and I knocked on your door and said, "Hey, can I come over here until my mom pick me up?"
Oh, that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good.
Netherwood, but that was the last time I came on Netherwood Street because Sean, all you heard was Sean said this, Sean said this.
Oh, okay.
In a lot of stories in Magnolia, you will always hear Sean said. We like, what?
I was the church's recording secretary.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Executive.
Yeah, there you go. I served my role well.
You were recording imaginary stories stuff. Like,
Listen, it was enough for Lisa. Look, at least Lisa shut it down, baby.
Clearly,
We was the best of friends from that day forward.
It'd always be the one.
Shout out to Lisa though. Shout out to my girl Lisa. Shout out to all of you all that have tuned in for the first installment. Our trip back down memory lane, as we have done a lot tonight, interestingly, covered a lot of ground. Again, I am a diehard church kid. I make no apology about it. And each of these ladies, I'm happy to still say, here go my recording secretary task. They're still very much heavily rooted and wherever they are in their respective places, still very much rooted. And what I hope will come out in the upcoming weeks is their story, their spiritual journeys, how it has evolved, how they've grown over time. Because ultimately that's the whole point of this. I always, again, be grateful for how God has planted seeds in us and how those seeds have continued to sprout. And each of us are all products of the great Magnolia First Baptist Church. There's just no way, I don't think anyone could speak of our legacies, our biographies, our histories, or our accomplishments, again, without paying tribute to that of the ministry of Magnolia First Baptist under the leadership of the late Dr. William Henry Bass. And so again, tonight we wanted to just kick off August by celebrating that, celebrating our roots, celebrating those initial seeds, and just celebrating how far God has brought each of us individually as well as collectively. Shout out to our own families that made sure that, we marched our tails up into those church doors, some more forcefully than others, some more loose than others, but we all still made our way to 1518 each and every week. Some of us, like Alexis, had to stay till midnight and beyond. But at the end of the day, we all again met at the great 1518, and I'm just excited to still be connected to these amazing women of God in their own individual right. There are forces, and again, as the weeks go on, you all will be able to hear their stories more as they share how they are changing and impacting lives in some very amazing, innovative, and dope ways all across this country. And so again, I will yield for you all to make any final comments that you want, any final remarks and or comments before we go down from this place. We'll kick it off with you, Nisha, Charle, and then we'll wrap up with Alexis before I pray us out of here.
I think I've said enough for tonight. I mean, I'm definitely excited to be a part of this panel with these special ladies. And touche, to what you said, Sean, about about everyone that's on the panel tonight. So I don't have anything more to add to it. I'm looking forward to what the next couple of weeks will bring, and that's it.
Buddy,
I didn't know if I was on mute. Yeah, I'm excited to be on this panel. It's great to see you guys. I don't know when the last time I've seen everybody together. I do want to mention and shout out, because I remember our Sunday school teacher, so Miss Isom, Miss Webster, my mom, and I didn't have, for some reason, I don't know why I didn't get beginners class, but I guess because
was it Auntie Pat?
Yep. Yeah, I guess when we got to Magnolia, I was already past that age, because I don't have a beginner's life story.
I do.
It started with Miss Webster. What a true foundation of knowing Psalm 23rd,
and Sheila Caldwell too.
Oh yeah. Wait, I didn't have her.
I didn't have Miss Caldwell. I think she came in like halfway through with somebody else.
But I do remember Monique, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get Miss Blankenship? I think you was already gone. You was already doing your own thing by then.
When she says own thing, then I was transitioning to sports. So sports, like,
Right, that's right. Your extracurricular activity.
Clear that up because
Oh, I am glad y'all cleared up extracurricular activities because when you said it earlier, I was just okay, but you meant sports. I'm so sincere when I say that. I wasn't gonna point it out. I was just gonna be like, oh, okay, she was doing that.
Sports.
Ah. This is supposed to be all PG. I cleared those.
Didn't say bird.
Well, I mean, I did arts too. That's why I didn't want to say. I don't know which one I was at the time, but if I need to be specific, sports.
Not the extracurriculars that go on around 15, 18.
Which we will cover.
Oh man.
Woo. Alexis?
I don't have any last words. I think that was good. I'll see y'all next week. Actually, my was in my for you to pray us out of here, but you said
say that again.
Actually, the thing in my head when you said it was for you to pray us out of here, but you already said you were gonna do it. So
I thought maybe were you volunteering to pray? Do you want to pray us out of here?
Oh, ma'am, this is the Sean Destiny Show.
Okay.
We just children.
Bye. Again, you all next week, same time. You can catch each of us, me and my hitters, me and my Destiny partners, live in the Destiny Den. I hope as again something has been said, shared, alluded to, or even assumed on tonight. That has tickled your ears just a little bit, and that you'll join us next week again.
We Magnolia still
want to shout out. Always pay homage to 1518. Destiny has an address. It was and is the place of conception for each of us. If all hearts, our minds are clear, y'all know how we do it. Catch the replay, catch the rewind. And again, let everybody know we'll be back live in the Destiny Den next Thursday with your girl, the Destiny Coach. Until next time, I hope y'all have a great and amazing week and weekend. God, we thank you for this night. We thank you for this fellowship.